Howdy y'all, welcome back to another video. Today's video will be an interview I was able to have with Twitch streamer Sondsol over on his stream at twitch.tv/Sondsol. With that being said, sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the video. So I'm sure your stream already knows, but for my channel, who are you?
I'm Sondsol. I'm a largely progressive type political commentator. I play video games on Twitch. I'm kind of a variety streamer, but I mostly do politics.
And outside of politics, what do you do for fun, or do you have any hobbies that you invest a lot of time in?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff with music. Me and my friend, we started a band a couple of years ago. We had an entire year off because of COVID.
Right.
But we recently got back into that, so I've been doing a lot of music stuff. I've always been into video games, hobby stuff like Warhammer 40k and tabletop war games, D&D, all of the nerd shit.
Where do you feel like you align politically?
Yeah, I've had a pretty roller coaster of a political journey over the past couple of years. Graduating high school, I was a very, very hardcore centrist. Like, Republicans do this better, Democrats do this better, and we need to find the perfect unity. And then I started getting more and more progressive. I was a big Bernie bro in 2016. And then after 2016, I was exposed to a lot of really far left things. I have a friend that is a very long time anarcho-communist. So I got super into the idea of communism and socialism, and until recently I've described myself as purely just socialist. I would say that I'm okay with democratic socialism, but I'm probably more on the side of social democracy is more likely and probably something I can still see within my lifetime. So that's where I'm at.
What do you feel like is the ethical framework that you base your beliefs on, or what makes you do what you choose to do?
I largely operate with like a baseline assumption that what I want to do is I want to help as many people as possible. A broadly utilitarian framework. When I see people that need help, that is what my politics centers around. There are people in this world that are super fucking poor. There are people within my realm of influence that I can help through voting and through advocacy. And so I want to uplift people that are the poorest of the poor. And I want to do that in whatever is the most efficient and reasonable way possible.
What brought you into specifically the Twitch politics debate space?
I want to say it was 2019. I'm not 1000% sure exactly when it was, but my friend and former roommate got me into watching videos by Destiny, and I found those really entertaining. I had done some Twitch like video game streams in the past, but I'd never tried to do anything political online. And I think at the very beginning of 2020, before the lockdown started, I started like once or twice a week streaming. I've been streaming since that time, and I think that during COVID, I got super into politics because that's all you really could do at that time, right? Like you were locked in your house with whoever you were there with, and like what was I gonna do other than play guitar and play video games and stream a couple of times so that I could get my mind off of the fact that we were in a worldwide pandemic.
What do you seek to gain from your online presence?
This has actually been something that is very difficult to find out. I think that when everyone starts out with talking about politics, especially in the Twitch sphere, where we're in a live setting and you're streaming for multiple hours unscripted, the initial thought is, all right, I'm gonna be like doing some real shit here, I'm gonna be going like deep into the trenches. If you're a debate bro like I am, I'm arguing against Nazis and pulling people and rehabilitating them. And over time, my perception of what my actual impact was and what my my goals were, and I think now my goal is to be a reasonable voice and try to bring people to what is not a center, because I don't believe in the radical centrism thing. I believe that there is a a point that we can all agree on some pretty fundamental things, right? Descriptively, the way that the world is right now. And then once we find out what we can agree on, what can we agree is like the best prescriptive statement that we can make on any given issue. I think that's like been pretty important to me, especially in the past couple of months when I've got largely disillusioned with the online left, not being able to see where people might be actually saying something that's kind of reasonable, but needs just like some minor tweaking to their statement.
Right.
And people will just like go absolutely fucking ham on them.
Mhm.
And I think that that's really just the wrong way to go about things.
How do you feel Biden has done as president thus far?
For the first half of the year, I was largely happy. I felt like the kinds of policies that they were putting forward and actually passing at the beginning of the year were really good, right? The bills that they were doing with the reconciliation bills, the child tax credit, all those things were just awesome. I am really disappointed in the past couple of months at the absolute standstill that they have and his inability to get the centrist factions of the Senate in line to actually put the bills through. Joe Manchin and Sinema have too much power for who they are. Biden should have been able to get his party in line and find something much sooner, and something that was a lot more reasonable than chopping the Build Back Better plan literally in half. So that's my feeling on that.
Do you have any predictions about the upcoming midterm elections?
I think we're going to get fucking slaughtered. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of months we can do something, but the way that it's been going, I'm pretty pessimistic about the way that it has been going and the Democratic Party's ability to fight back on narratives from the Republican Party.
Do you feel like there's anything particular that the Democratic Party should focus on pushing, or any sort of specific policies that they should really harp on in order to garner that extra support that they would need to push it through the midterms?
The things that I would tell them to focus on, if I had Biden in front of me or if I had Nancy Pelosi in front of me, I would tell them, look, I agree with the statements that you're saying about like trying to like build back racial parity, but like the way that we're going about talking about it, the policies that you're putting forward help everybody, but they're disproportionately going to help like certain groups because those groups disproportionately need the help. But when we talk about systemic racism, there's some people that just get so ass mad about the statement systemic racism that nothing can get past. I would say we could soften our language there and then strengthen our language in how the economy under Democratic presidents is just better. The economy under a Democratic Congress and Senate is just better. The policies that they put forward, when taken in isolation and not being given like the label of left-leaning economic policy or right-leaning economic policy, Democrat or Republican, Democratic policy is overwhelmingly more popular. But because of the narratives that are spun about them, people just assume that Democrats aren't good on the economy, Democrats aren't good on education, Democrats aren't good on this or that, right? So like if they were better able to spin their narrative and to show that, hey, we've got this, we can and will pass legislation that will help you, I think that's the best way for them to go forward. But not this sitting behind and letting the CRT debates get like crazy out of hand, not sitting behind and letting everybody believe that Republicans are better on the economy. These are things that I would tell them to focus on.
What do you feel like is the biggest concern that you have about our current political state of affairs?
We lack the ability to communicate with each other, the left and the right in this country, to see that we do have some common ground in a lot of different areas. Right? We do have common ground in that we want poor people to be able to afford housing and afford food. And we all agree that there's problems with the way that tech companies have not monopolies necessarily, although some of them you could make the argument. There needs to be some sort of action taken there. I think that a lot of people can agree on those things, that there's too much power held there. I think that people can agree that our infrastructure is absolutely fucked and we need to invest in that, and that we need to invest in childcare and in the children of the United States. It's just ultimately it's the different worlds of information that we live in. People are taking in alt media. I mean, technically I'm alt media, and I don't think that anyone should listen to me as a primary source for any kind of news. I try not to keep up on stream with breaking news or, like this bill just got shot down or something like that, because I'd like to hear a lot more about it before talking about it on stream. And I think that this need to hear it from not mainstream sources that do have people that are all around and just teams of people talking about one specific thing and learning about that one specific thing, not trusting experts from mainstream media or something like that. That's one of the biggest problems, and it leads to this divide in information, which leads to a divide in what we think is actually going on in the world, which leads to us not being able to communicate our actual positions that we can agree on.
Do you think that there is any hope of moving the 30% of the US that dogmatically follows Trump towards the left?
I do have hope for that. There are some people that, even in this space in Twitch politics, that I thought would never get away from the Trump train that actually have, right? There are some people that at first were very, very skeptical of vaccines, right? But once the Pfizer vaccine got approved by the FDA, not emergency approval, but full approval, they went out and got the vaccine. And I think that there are some people that are very principled in this space. And if there are people that are principled in this space, I think there are people that are principled in the real world. And as long as we're able to maintain a steady progression forward, putting forward good policy that actually helps people, and the further that we get away from the Trump brain rot that happened, I do have hope that we can get away from that. I don't know how long that will take, but I think that really it's just going to be distance and time ultimately that is going to be the decider of that.
Are there any policies that you would like to see implemented in the next couple of years?
Oh, I mean, yes. Are there any that I think would actually go through that I want? Probably not. I'm still very, very sympathetic to the arguments for Medicare for all, or at least a public option. I don't think that the Democrats should drop that policy. If they introduced that in the midterms, that would be absolutely fucking amazing. And it would show that they have a commitment to holding on to the promises that they had in the general election. So I think that that's like a huge one. I also think that a lot of stuff that they dropped out of the Build Back Better plan, just absolutely atrocious. The 2 years of community college, paternity and maternity leave, childcare. These are all things I think are really, really important, and they predominantly hurt people at the lowest part of our society, people that are struggling, paying their bills, they're living paycheck to paycheck. These are the kind of policies that actually help everyday Americans always. It's not a short-term policy. It's something that would help us forever. Right? And it would help us overall with being able to increase the productivity of our economy, with people not having to spend so much money on childcare individually, instead of spending that to the tax base. And when it comes to like taxes, policies that I would see, I think that everybody could use to have a tax hike, not just the millionaires and billionaires. I think that overall broadly increasing our revenue that we have for our taxes so that we can spend that on social spending is a worthwhile cause. So those are the kinds of things that I would look at.
What do you think are ways that we can affect the most positive change for the majority of Americans within our current political system?
The best things that we can do are largely things that need to be done on the local level. For example, I live in Houston. Houston has the most shit-ass fucking infrastructure and the worst city planning possibly in the world. I think that this is widely recognized amongst people that are city planners. It is just the worst. We have no public transport, essentially. We have no walkable roads, no walkable neighborhoods. Everything is so spread out that nobody can go anywhere. You have to have a car. You have to be able to pay for not just the car note, but also all of the repairs that go into it and gas, all of the things that you would need for a car. I think that one of the things that is super important that we could do for everybody right now is invest in local infrastructure to increase our efficiency and amount of public transport. I love the idea of transcontinental rail system, high-speed rail. I love the idea of having rail in every single major city. I love the idea of people being able to have that bill from their car note taken off of them when they don't need a car. So that's one thing. I think that another thing is increasing the funding that we give to the education system. When people have a better upbringing, they have a better life overall. So if you have that baseline from pre-K and kindergarten through 12th 12th grade, and you can increase the quality of education and the quality of the care that children get, whether it's mental health or whether it is extracurricular. These are things that can increase everybody's quality of life, not just those kids, but everyone overall, because we all live in this society together. So if we increase their quality of life, they'll become more productive members of society. When they become more productive members of society, our economy is bolstered and it makes everybody's lives better. So those are two things. And I guess like the third thing, it's between one of two things. I do love the idea of having some sort of public option or Medicare for all type policy implemented. Those are really important to me. I don't think that those are going to happen. I would love for them to, because if you have a public option, your healthcare isn't tied to your work, so you'll be able to leave your work easier if you're not having to worry about where your medicine's going to come from next month. I realize that it's not the best economic policy, but raising the minimum wage would also help a lot of people now in absence of these social programs that I advocate for. Because, I mean, minimum wage is super tricky to talk about. It's not good economic policy because there's better ways to make sure that people have a high wage through unionization and labor organization, stuff like that. But we don't have that in the United States right now. What would help right now is increasing the minimum wage so those people at the very bottom of society do get more funds so that they can actually buy things that are needed.
And the most important question, what is your favorite video game?
Oh, this is fucking hard. I know for a fact that my favorite franchise is the Zelda franchise. I think my favorite video game is Zelda Majora's Mask, but there's a lot of very close contenders. In fact, when I started streaming, I decided to go through and try and play as many games as possible, and I think that a near tie would be the Half-Life series. I had never played them before. When I bought them and I played them on stream, I was incredibly surprised at how into them I got.
Yeah, the mechanics hold up exceptionally well.
They really do. I keep on going back to them. I've played through Half-Life 1 like 3 times in the past 8 months. So
that's all I have for you as far as interview questions go. I very much appreciate you taking the time out of your stream to field these questions. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll catch you later.
Hey, catch you later. Thank you. Thanks for watching another video. I had a great time getting to talk to Sondsol and pick his brain a bit here, and we'll see if this is something I do again in the future. Thanks again for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that junk. Have a great rest of your day, and be the best you that you can be today. Bye.
I mean, childhood poverty sucks, but our society's pretty chill. Like, we have the internet now.